Greetings once again. I am MD Muhammad and welcome to your new life. How are you feeling today? I hope that you are feeling jovial, happy, excited about life, and all that good stuff. Not feeling the fear and the depression and the anxiety and the stress and the lack of peace, the confusion and the unhappiness that in my past life I have been all too familiar with. But today I wanted to delve into the right message, the right message that writing and reading are truly empowering. That is the proper way to say it because that is proper English. But for the sake of the acronym, I say writing and reading is truly empowering. And I wanted to discuss the extraordinary, awesome power of writing and the extraordinary power of journaling to heal, to make us more aware of ourselves, and to move us forward in our lives from where we were or from where we are to where we truly, truly desire to be and who we desire to be in this world. So let's talk a little about journaling. I have been journaling incessantly for the last 18 years, since about the year 2000. Before that, I wrote a lot as a girl. I was writing poetry in addition to journaling in my younger years. However, it was intermittently. I became much more dedicated in my adult years, using journaling and my writing and my poetry as a means of self-discovery, self-therapy, expressing myself, putting my heart on paper, and just sharing things in writing in my journal that I didn't necessarily feel comfortable or secure enough to share with anyone else, even though I had many good friends and people in my circle. There's just certain things that are very intimate and personal to me that I just write down and use my journal as my quote unquote best friend, for lack of a better term. So I've been doing that for about 18 years. I wanted to share some of my journals with you. This one is from, 2003. Okay. I didn't go through all of the dates, but I know of this because I would like to share something from this particular journal with you. So I was able to reflect on it a little bit. These are some of the journals that I've written in over the years. They are all full of MD's mind, um, thoughts, ideas, vision, goals, aspirations, desires, uh, things that have troubled me, concerned me, challenges, triumphs, ups and downs, fears, all of that. Life, just life, um, is in all of these pages. My life, of course, in particular. My experiences, my life lessons, my perceptions of people's situations and things and why they happened and why they had to happen, and just making meaning, using my journaling to make meaning of my life, which I think is very important. Sometimes things just happen, or we think they're just happening, and we may not always have the self-awareness at certain stages of our growth and development in our journey to make meaning. And making meaning of why things happen is so critically important, oftentimes, for you even coming out of it and overcoming it and conquering. Some of what happens to us can be very devastating and traumatic to the brain and the mind. And being able to use our own thinking and our own mind, and the power, extraordinary power of the brain to heal itself and to heal our mind and heal our own souls, pardon me. We have to avail ourselves of the tools that will empower us and allow us to do that and engage in our own healing process, and know that we have the power to create our own reality. And I have found that through writing and journaling, that I was actually writing my history in advance. Or I was actually calling things that would happen in my life into existence through my poetry and through things that I wrote down, my vision, my goals, my dreams, what I desire truly for my life to be brought into fruition. And at first, I was just writing a self-therapy in the moment and just to relieve myself of some of the burden internally, because at one time, I internalized a lot. And to some extent, I still do. I'm not perfect. I'm not where I want to be, I think, with that. However, I have grown a lot to not always internalize the negativity and negative responses of others. But I use my writing to bring myself to a certain place of peace, of self-awareness, of self-love, and knowing my worth and valuing myself, my thoughts, my intuitive abilities, which we all have. So that leads me into a few excerpts that I want to share from some of my journals. I'm not going to go too long or in depth because, of course, it's very personal, intimate things that I don't desire to be in the public, but I want to share, actually, I'm going to share from this journal first. And there's a reason why I chose this. This actually kind of just came to me. I said, what can I share? And I just kind of fell on this page. So I said, this is awesome to offer. This is actually from quite a number of years ago in late 2012, from like the fall into winter of 2012. And I titled it Insight into Self. And it says, so this turmoil, this stress, this pressure began to bring out of me what was within. It goes on to say, I'm asking questions and I'm saying, I'm sorry, my handwriting can be a little difficult to read when I'm writing. Why was I going through this? What was the purpose and meaning of all this? So I was really looking for answers and genuine solutions to my problems, which I was experiencing at the time. I needed to find peace, love, happiness, because I became very unhappy, sad, even depressed for a very long time. And that's all I read from there. But I think it's awesome that I was able to write down my questions. Why is this happening? Because guess what? You get answers. You get answers when you speak, and you also get great answers when you write your questions, your thoughts, your emotions, your vision, your goals, your fears, and insecurities, when you write them down. And we're going to go into a little scientific approach and understanding of why that happens when you write and why you write it down. Okay, so I just wanted to share that. Whatever you're feeling, write it down, record it, and know that you will get answers, because your unconscious mind has to give you answers. Your brain is fashioned and designed to respond, and of course the creator and the universe will respond when you have questions that are unanswered, when you're when you're struggling with whatever you're going through in your life. Know the extraordinary power of writing and journaling, that you're keeping a record, and by writing it down, magical things happen. Okay, I'm going to get into that. Like I said, I began to see a pattern unfolding because I was recording, I was writing it down, and it began to create a wonderful reality. And my life began to unfold, and you can see it better unfolding and pay attention to those details and those patterns and the mathematics that's coming into being through your reality and in your reality through your own being and your own writing, through your poetry, through your journaling, through your storytelling. Whatever you're writing down, there's magic in that, quote unquote. Because I don't believe in anything so mysteriously outside of ourselves. It is our own mind, our own brain, the powers of our own being are calling this into existence. But writing is an awesome tool that you use to do that. Okay. So I wanted to share something here in this journal. This journal is way back as well, 15 years ago, from 2003. This is before my daughter was born. It says, learning more and more about myself is painful, but a very good thing. I just pray, I take the medicine that heals me from my sickness. And my sickness at that time was just low self-worth. Low self-esteem, low self-worth, allowing myself to constantly be disrespected, abused, devalued in many ways. And I couldn't put my finger on exactly why I was that way, or just not affirming my worth, my value, my voice in certain situations. But I knew that something was off with me and there were imbalances in my life, but I was not yet self-aware. I didn't have the level of self-awareness to know how to change it. I just knew that there was something going on with me, that I felt off. I actually recorded it. I said, as you know, I've been feeling a little down on the inside, inadequate, lost, maybe a little confused. I just don't feel like myself. But writing it down allowed me a vehicle, a space, and a safe space to be able to record and at least acknowledge in that moment in time on March 9th, 8:58 a.m. I'm able to go back and say, this is where I was. This is what I was feeling then. And then measure progress and say, wow, that is not where I am today. Because I wrote it down, I recorded it. I can gauge where I was in this year at this time. It's almost like creating a timeline. And I spoke about creating a timeline in one of my previous videos. You can look back and go forward because you're writing it down. So everything I'm talking about is very much connected, and there's a science to everything in life. Okay, so that's where I was, and unfortunately I was in that state of imbalance and going back and forth like a pendulum, is that what you call it, and mood swings and different attitudes and experience for a very long time. And it took me a long time, I think, to really find my balance, let go of things I needed to let go of, move on from things, people, situations that I needed to move on from to attain and establish more of that mental, emotional balance, self-love, feelings of confidence and worth that I was so deeply longing for. But I was writing about it a lot in my journals. Again, I didn't have the self-awareness to know what I was doing. But on an unconscious level, that deep yearning to be my highest, truest, best, freest self was coming forth through the journaling. And the last thing I'm going to share, there's a piece that I actually put in my book called Keeping It Real. And I would actually have to look at the date to remember when I recorded that piece, because I don't know. I'm just going to grab this book. Pardon me. I had it here, but I have so many journals sitting here. It must have gotten kind of shuffled around. But I have a piece in my book, Sharing Sacred Sisterhood, Breaking Barriers, Healing Wounds. And I don't remember the date and time, but I do remember the beginning of the piece. And as a matter of fact, I do, because I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter in 2004. So it had to be written sometime in, let's say, October of 2004, somewhere in there. It's a piece called Keeping It Real. And I began to realize how fake I was, how phony I was, how superficial I was. I would say I was fine when I was not. I would pretend to be strong when I felt weak. You know, there was just a lot of pretentiousness, going on with me, but I was able to recognize always certain things that were going on with me on a mental, emotional level because of my writing. It made me more aware. My brain, my mind was more attuned to details with others as well as myself. because I was recording. And we're going to go into the brain a little bit from a book that I love called Write It Down, Make It Happen. Which her goal in writing her book is a little bit different and tangential somewhat, but it is very much related to what I'm saying. So I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter when I wrote these words. Yesterday I saw myself for the very first time. Yesterday I saw myself for the very first time. Why am I forgetting that piece? Oh, girl, I'm bugging. I'm so sorry. Yesterday, I saw myself for the very first time. You see, I decided to just remove my face. You know that face. The face, the one we wear when we put on airs and hide secret tears to pretend we know what we don't, have what we don't, are what we're not, and will go where we won't. Just in case anyone would ever get clever enough to call our bluff, look deep within our eyes. Deep within our eyes, windows to the soul, which reveal what we seek so hard to seal and to hold. Maybe someone will see, maybe someone will finally see that I'm just a helpless child yearning to be made whole. And of course, there's more to that piece. Little did I know when I wrote that 5 months pregnant with my daughter, what would break out in my life. You can read more of my story on my website. Little did I know that I would end up being a single mother after being married for nearly 9 years, that I would have to suffer abandonment, infidelity, food stamps, welfare, housing court, family court, and learning so much about people around me that were not real. But I had already written in my poetry that it was time to remove my face. I had already written that. I had already stated that. So that was coming from a place within me that said, okay, you ready to be real? There's going to be something you have to go through. The extraordinary power of journaling. If you don't want to be your best, highest, truest, freest self, don't write. Because the power in it is that from your unconscious mind, you are actually creating your reality from a deeper, much more profound place. And you don't know what you might have to go through to get there. But that's okay. Because you are loved, nurtured, and supported in your journey and in your process. So I want to talk about a little bit about, from this book, extraordinary book. I read this many years ago, and I wanted to bring it to your attention. Write It Down, Make It Happen by Henriette Ann Clouser. She says here, writing is a good way to force my negative emotional reactions into words and not stomach churnings. What made the difference about writing it down? I was discouraged, and if I hadn't written it down, I wouldn't have applied for the leave of absence, and I never would have thought in a million years about a sabbatical. Without writing it down, I wouldn't have had the courage to leave my job. Every time I opened that journal, I looked back, and there it was, to live and travel internationally. It was always alive because it was right there on that page. As I made plans and thought about it, I wrote about the plans in that same journal. And if I got discouraged, I would write about that and write through the discouragement. Janine would go into the writing feeling negative and come out of the writing remembering that there's a lot of joy in traveling. So I wrote about the joy just because I didn't have any money and was going to give up my job. That didn't mean that it shouldn't happen. A lot of people would consider either one of those two factors enough to stop them. Not Janine. She conquered her fears. She conquered her fears. She conquered her fears by writing them down. The lesson is to let your writing be a place to park your worries. I have parked my worries so many times on pages and in my journal. And honestly, sometimes I didn't always park them there. I carried them for way too long. But I don't anymore. And that is the extraordinary power of journaling. It allows you to let go, and it allows you to record your fears and look back and overcome them and conquer them. It's just a tool. There are many others, but it's an extraordinary tool. And again, you know, when you're writing down your vision and your desires for your life, it's like writing your history in advance. Write it as if it has already taken place, and it will. So I wanted to just quote a little bit more from this book, and then that'll be all for today. I want to talk a little bit about the brain, and then I'm going to close out this video. Help from your brain. Writing down your dreams and aspirations is like hanging up a sign that says, "Open for business." Or as my friend Elaine puts it, by writing it down, you declare yourself in the game. Putting it on paper alerts the part of your brain known as the reticular activating system to join you in the play. So writing activates certain parts of your brain that are simply not activated when we text. When we're typing, it's not the same kind of thing, okay? At the base of the brainstem, about the size of a little finger, is a group of cells whose job it is to sort and evaluate incoming data. She goes on to discuss the reticular activating system. Okay. She goes on to say, where should I read from? The RAS sends the urgent stuff to the active part of your brain and sends the non-urgent to the subconscious, which I mentioned before. Okay. The RAS awakens the brain to consciousness and keeps it alert. She goes on to say, and I want to give an example from the book. So let's give an example, pardon me. Suddenly someone clear on the other side of the room mentions your name. And that one word cuts through the sea of sound and your ears immediately perk up. You turn your head toward the speaker, eager now to tune into the rest of the conversation, to what he or she is saying about you, straining to hear if it is good news, ready to defend the bad. That is a prime example of your monitoring mechanism, your RAS, at work. You have just tuned into something specific and useful to you. Although you may think you are giving your conversational companion undivided attention, the fact is your attention is fragmented and subconsciously taking in the Tower of Babel around you. She goes on to say, the RAS is like a filtering system of the brain. Writing it down sets up the filter. Things start to appear. It's a matter of your filtering system. Things start to appear because you're writing it down. And writing it down makes it happen. I had no awareness when I started to write 18 years ago of what I was doing, the journey, the awesome journey that I was embarking upon. But I was, and I truly see the patterns and the revelations and the insights and the life lessons and the connection between the things that I've written down and how my life has unfolded and how things have manifested, the people that I've attracted into my space, the people that I have repelled from my space who are not good for me. I didn't know I was doing that through my poetry and what I write. So I'm offering this awesome tool to you, the awesome, extraordinary power of journaling and writing down your history in advance and shaping your life through what you write, what you say, what you think, but also through what you write. Because when you write it down, your brain and your unconscious mind goes to work to make it happen. And you are supported by your creator and the universe. I'm grateful for those of you who have made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I truly, truly appreciate your time and attention. I hope that I said something, offered something that was supportive to you on your journey. And I truly encourage you to be your best, truest, freest, and highest self. And whatever that looks like for you in your life, I am so excited to one day meet or see him and her. And I want you to always remember to stand, speak, share, and shine. And until then, be well, my friend. Blessings always on your journey.
Define divine, open up your subconscious, subliminal, deeper spirit-filled mind to find the secret of God. For you, like him, are incomparably unique, antique, matchless, one of a kind, peculiar, bearing witness to his own individuality and originality, but somehow the lower lustful mentality has stopped us from manifesting his reality in the